Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak. And of course, I want to say Shalom, Shalom out there, pursuing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. And this is one I was pondering, through the Spirit. And I wanted to make for the brothers and sisters out there that are, going through afflictions, essentially their flesh being touched, whether it be, a cold or, a chronic ailment or illness, a disease, something that sticks around, maybe not necessarily gone away when you wanted it to go. Things like diabetes or, more chronic conditions, cancers and stuff like that, right? Lasting stuff, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, a lot of stuff that, the more stick around type stuff, dietary restrictions and stuff like that. I mentioned I have dietary restrictions and stuff with, like LPR, laryngopharyngeal reflex, with the gut where it's essentially, at a disbalance. And, just pondering, because it's one of those things where, and I've heard this a lot. You'll hear a lot of the brothers talk about, I prayed and then, the next day I felt better. It's not always going to be like that. All right. There are going to be situations where you are going to have a more chronic illness that stays around. All right. And, it's something you're going to have to suffer through. And it doesn't mean that you're wicked. It doesn't mean that the Lord's not dealing with you. It doesn't mean that you're two-third. It doesn't mean that you did anything bad. All right. It's just part of, walking and following Yahweh Shai is the suffering, right? And I will probably grab that scripture. Again, I try to keep these lessons fresh, not always getting the same scriptures over and over again. But there is one that I probably do want to get, that I do generally get when I talk about these. And I've talked about this before, not necessarily the more chronic side of it. I've talked about illnesses and prayers and herbs and stuff like that. But I want to talk about, basically a faith booster for those out there that are suffering through more chronic elements. And really, this is a lesson for myself as much as it is for you brothers and sisters out there, because again, I suffer through chronic ailments. All right, there's other brothers out there, and not everyone's going to have that. All right, some brothers and sisters are going to be in better health, some are not going to be in better health, but at the end of the day, we're thankful to wake up through Yahweh Shai and have another day, right? So this is 1 Peter 4 and 12 on down to 13, and we'll see if we'll just roll with it as we go with it. And it's titled Suffering as a Christian. Okay, so in a sense, suffering as a follower of Yahweh through Yahweh, right? So Yahweh Shai. In it, Slakia, in that, suffering as a Christian is what? Suffering as a follower of Yahweh Shai. So, 1 Peter 4 and 12, it's going to read, Beloved, and this is really dealing with the elect. Okay, those are the ones who are beloved by Yahweh Shai. So, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you. So, it likens our walk and what we're going to go through unto a fiery trial. All right. Now, if you think about trial, you think the first thing in a modern sense you think about is court. All right, going to a trial. All right, but in ancient times, a trial was a test. Okay, I mentioned how I'm into nerdy shit like Dungeons and Dragons, right? A trial, all right, within Dungeons and Dragons or old fantasy books, stuff like Lord of the Rings and stuff like what's the name of that series? I can't even think about it. Wheel of Time, all right, things like that. And even in sci-fi and science fiction, trials, all right. A trial is essentially, when I think about trial, I think about it in a nerdier way. And this is really what I believe the scripture's talking about, a trial. a fiery trial. So a trial is a test of strength, and it's a test of strength, a test of your, and when I say strength, it's not just physical brawn, all right, but mental brawn as well, all right, mental strength, physical strength, you know, puzzle, right, using your brain, using your strength, and a bunch of different things. In a lot of video games, you'll see like trials or puzzles where you gotta run past, you know, the razor blades, or the you know, not the razor blades, but the, you know, the big swords and blades swinging through the wall, and then you gotta dodge that, and then after that there's all these darts that fly out the window, and then you gotta dodge that, and then you gotta, you know, cross the lake of lava, right? And then you gotta swim down through a part, and you gotta, you know, grab this stone, and then once you come out the stone, you gotta climb up, you know, through the air, right? And then at the end, you might have a trial of like a test of faith, where I've seen it in some video games where it looks like there's nothing there. Like it might look like there was one I remember, I can't remember which game it was. It was like a platform, and it looked like if you jumped, you would fall into a void, but you wouldn't fall into a void, because if you jumped, there was actually a floor there, but you just couldn't see it, right? And that's funny, because that it's not funny, but it's really spiritual, because that's really walking by faith and not through sight, okay? Because by the eyes would have you deceived, thinking that there's nothing there, but really there is something there. So that's like a fiery trial. Now I'm going to see what it happens to say. Now let me go over the Strong's numbers, and I'm going to look at the word trial, and it says smelting. That's really, what's that? Fiery is what it's probably dealing with. Fiery trial. So really, I guess it only gets G4451. I guess it really is only getting the fiery part. All right, so that's unfortunate. But let me get back into the regular Apocrypha without the Strong's numbers. So or the KJV with Apocrypha, the 1611. So it says, "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you." And again, so like I said, in that context, it's not talking about like a trial as far as going before a judge, and I mean essentially you are as well, but a trial as in a test of strength, a test of your mettle, a test of your might, right? In the old Mortal Kombat games, it was test your might, right? And you'd have to like mash a button, right? So it wasn't about just strength, it was about dexterity, all right? Using all of the Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's not just about strength, but it's also about intelligence, dexterity, constitution, all right? Constitution's that's your fortitude, all right? How long you can endure, all right? And another Dungeons and Dragons skill, wisdom. Okay, so think about that, man. Think about it. So it says, and again, I'll get through the scripture eventually. "Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you." And I remember the first time I really remember this scripture being read, it was dealing with, I think it was the apostle, not the apostle, but the elder Menatazakba. And it was years ago. He was outside making a lesson at some type of, like, I don't know if it would be called a gazebo, or like you know, like an awning, like one of those park things where it's got the bench, and it's got that, like, it's not a tent, like, I don't know, not really a gazebo either, but kind of like a gazebo, kind of like a tent, but I don't know what you call that, not an awning, I don't know what you'd call those things, basically like a park with a park bench, with a little, I guess it is kind of like a gazebo with a thing on top. I don't know. If you know what it's called, you can type it down below. I don't know what the hell those things are called. Park bench with like a wooden or metal, you know, roof over it, right? Essentially. And he was sitting at one of those making a lesson, and all of a sudden he said he started to feel really sick. All right, I believe he had to, I think it was a live stream, and he had to end up cutting it. And then that's when he came back and got 1 Peter 4:12, talking about, you know, some strange thing happened unto you. And that's really dealing with like an illness, right? Some strange thing, right? And we're going to go through strange things. You know, there was a time, I'll use a testimony of my wife, you know, where she started getting real dizzy. She started, I'm trying to remember all what happened. She started getting really dizzy. She felt sick. You know, tired and sluggish and all those things like that. And worried her. So she ended up going to the doctor, and they saw her blood pressure was really low, right? And then we'd make her eat sugar and stuff because like, oh my gosh, maybe you're going diabetic or something, and it just went away. It just went away. Like her blood pressure regularized and didn't have to do any of the sugar anymore. It was literally like just for like almost a week, and then it just completely went away. That's some strange thing happening unto you, right? So the blood sugar was all low and shit, and all sorts of different, she didn't feel well at all. So and then it just went away, it just went away, and that can happen, right? But again, like I said, I'm making this lesson also for people with chronicality, I guess it would be, is that sometimes you'll have some strange thing happen to you, all right, and it'll just go away, all right, but some strange thing can happen to you and persist and stay around for a while, okay? You might have, like what I have, all right? That's not something that just goes away, all right? I have other shit going on with, inflammation stuff, and I'm not going to make it into a woe is me, pity me lesson, but, I don't necessarily know what it is, the doctors ain't worth a shit. Every time you go there, they never want to, really look into your concerns, right? But at the end of the day, there's going to be brothers in this truth, that there's brothers that were in this truth that had cancer and died, right? Had other health issues and died, chronic health issues and died. And, it's that's not the outcome that you want. You're like, oh shit, I'm going to die. But, it's something, there's lessons for talking about, you of course pray, all right? But the outcome that you want is not always going to be the outcome that Yahweh Shema Shai gives you, okay? And that's something to again, it's something I've struggled with, and it requires a different type of thinking, because you see brothers praying, and that's why I want to make this lesson, because, this is something I was thinking, you see brothers praying like that, and they're like, oh, I prayed, I was healed the next day, and you feel like, oh, is there something wrong with me? And no, because there's brothers out there that have diabetes, and they prayed, and they still have diabetes, or they have cancer and they prayed and they still have cancer, or they pray, they have some type of pain, or bone issue or nerve issue, or certain issues like that, and they still got to go through that, right? But that doesn't mean that they're wicked. It's just something that, look, everybody's, as I've said in the past, everybody is running the same race, but everybody's path is a little bit different. All right, some people's paths are going to have a couple more stairs. Some people are not going to have, that many stairs at all. Some people are going to have a lot of curves. All right, some people are going to have some, stumbling blocks that they're going to have to overcome. All right, some more than others, some not at all. All right, and not when I say not at all, let me take that back. I mean not at all as comparing to the other people that might have a lot they go through. Other people not so much at all. They might have 1-2 things they stumble on and they get over it. Some people might, have 5 or 6 things and they'll eventually get over it, right? But it's a long list of, differences, all right? Why we are similar, all right, and we're in the same mind. We're not necessarily the same people. We're not necessarily going through the same exact thing. Somebody might be having a heart condition. Meanwhile, you might not have that. All right, you might have some type of condition. You might get ingrown toenails all the time or something, and it's not as bad as, the brother that has cancer or something like that. But it's still a hell into you, and it's not one of those situations where you want to think, oh, why does someone else get that, but I get this? It's, hey, look, at the end of the day, that's the will, all right, of Yahweh Shema Shai, and it's got to be done. I mean, none of us want to perish. None of us want to, suffer pain and torment like that, but we're willing to suffer through Yahweh Shema Shai, or at least we should be. And it's just one of those things where, you got to just keep on praying and just keep your faith and keep on keeping on. Or as the English had back in the day, they had a poster that would say, keep calm and carry on. And you just got to keep calm and carry on. You're going to go through things. You're going to go through shit. It's not going to be fun. It's not easy. Again, to quote the Apostle Gabar, a lot of people, don't understand what they're involved in. Okay, and that's the thing. A lot of Israelites don't understand what they're involved in. They think that it's going to be an easy pass. No, you're going to go through shit, all right? Some people are going to go through other things. Some people are going to go through more mental anguish. Some people are going to go, more touched in the flesh. They're going to have, physical ailments, all right? And some people are going to have things like that, cancer or whatever, or diabetes, and it's treatable and it'll go away. And in some sense, some people will perish from those things, and that doesn't make them wicked. It doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make someone else that doesn't have those things better than them. It doesn't mean that the Lord's not dealing with them. It's just that's the test that the Lord had them go through. Okay, and that's something that is going to strengthen them at the end of the day, as we're going to see. But like I said, some people could think a lesson like this could be a little bit grim, but again, it's a realistic lesson. And it's one of those things that we're essentially, at the end of the day, whether we live or die, we have to have faith and be thankful unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai for being given what we have been given, right? So 1 Peter 4:12, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you. And some trials are going to be, rougher than the others, right? It says, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice insomuch as ye are partakers of Hamashiach's suffering. So as Yahushai suffered, are we not to suffer, right? Are we not deserving of suffering, right? Well, he suffered, so why shouldn't we? It says that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. So let's get the ERV, or the ESV, excuse me. It says, beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange were happening unto you. Now it has R26 here, and it's just going to do that. I want to see if there was going to give us a good precept. It says, but rejoice insofar as you share Hamashiach's sufferings, that you may also rejoice and be glad when his glory is revealed. So, right here, but rejoice, insomuch as you share Hamashiach's suffering. So it's going to give us Philippians 3:10-11. All right, and these are on the ESV. It says, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection, and may share his sufferings, becoming like him in his death. And the other thing you got to realize is that Yahushua died, all right, and you're not more important than him, okay? It says that by any means possible, I may maintain the resurrection from the dead. So, Yahushua, all right, did die, all right, and he lived again. So if you die, you are going to live again, all right? So you are going to come back. I mean, you're going to be in the kingdom. So it's not like you're just going to perish forever. But it is something that some of us will have to go through, all right? Some will die from ailments. Some will not die at all. Some will die from being martyred. I mean, look what happened to Abba Bivens. He ended up succumbing from injuries because the whole situation with those Nation of Islam individuals that beat him terribly, right? So, and if you look at almost all the prophets in the Bible, I think other than John, almost all of them were martyred, okay? Put to dead, killed, right? They killed the prophets, okay? So most of them died, all right? And if not now, I mean, a lot of us are going to die in the end, right? And when I mean die, I mean by being martyred. So if you're thinking about the physical action of judgment is what we don't seek. Okay, that's not something we want. We don't want to, die by the sword. All right, we don't want to get shot or burned alive or stuff like that, because that is judgment. Dying from cancer or diabetes or something like that, that's not judgment, all right? That is just an ailment that took, that's part of the curses, all right, that we're going to have all these different things, right? That's part of the curses, and that's part, people get sickle cell anemia and all these different things and get very, very sick, or potentially end up dying, all right? Some get very, very sick. Some just end up dying. Not just sickle cell. I'm just talking about different things, sickle cell, lupus, all these different, autoimmune disorders, cancers, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, different heart disease runs big with the so-called Latino, Negro, Latino, and Native American communities. A lot of heart issues, kidney failure, stuff like that. And that doesn't mean you're wicked. It's just that, look, we're under the curses, man. We're gonna go through shit, and that's all the more reason to be hoping and holding fast unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai to for him to come back and deliver us, so we can get those V7 bodies. Right, not V1, V2, or V3, but V7, the version 7, right? And 7 is complete. Those complete bodies, those new spiritual bodies, those, I guess you could call them corporeal, those bodies like Yahushua has. It's, looks like flesh, but is, really not just flesh, but also ethereal and spiritual in a sense, because as the apostles talk about, you wouldn't be able to, and that's going to happen before we get in the chariots, because we couldn't even get in the chariots in normal flesh. We would perish because of the, the radiation and stuff, right? So, again, there's shit you're going to go through. And I mean, and like I said, and dying in the end is like, look, they're going to chop a lot of our heads off in the guillotine, right? because we didn't take the mark, or we profess the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, they're going to be chopping heads off. So that's martyrdom. It's not dying as in a normal sense, but it's still death, all right? But, so that's something you got to get comfortable with, man, at the end of the day. It's not something, nobody wants to die, all right, at the end of the day. Nobody wants to do it. But if you have to do it, it's something that you got to be willing and comfortable with, all right? So bear with me just 1 minute. I'm going to try to get this off the screen. Bear with me 1 minute. I'll be right back. All right, slack you for that, brothers and sisters. I had a payment thing not go through, and it kept on deciding to annoy me over and over and over and over and over again until I got it figured out. So slack you back for that, Anyway, I'm like, good Lord, I'll get to it. I understood the first time. We don't need to do it 4 more times. But, yeah, anyway, so, if we could get back. Let's go ahead and get it. So, yeah, anyway, yeah, so, we're going to need those new bodies. So that gives us a whole, not a whole nother, but it gives us another reason to, haste unto the coming of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and really want to be out of here. Because it's just, and especially with us that are going through health issues and shit, we especially want to get out of here. We're like, man, we're sick of this fucking place. We're sick of this fucking place. It's like I said, I try not to talk about myself a lot with the health condition. I mean, I so much as eat a lemon, now my body wants to act up. That's not, that's not any way that's not a fun way to live. You got to eat everything, with almost nothing on it. Can't use no lemon, can't use no garlic, can't use no onion, can't use no, this, no that, no this, no that. Can't use no anything with citrus in it. Can't have no, can't have no apples, can't have no grapes, can't have no blueberries, can't have no raspberries, can't have no cherries, all right, because they're all too high of a, or too low of a pH, and they'll mess you up. You got to drink alkaline water all the time. Look, man. The kingdom's not going to be like that. We want the fuck out of this place, all right? And again, not everybody's going to go through that, but some of us are going to go through health issues, It's hell. All right, the bread's here fucked up, the water's here fucked, everything's just fucked up here, and we're just ready to get the hell out of this place, man. Let's get into the Good News Bible. Let's see what it says here. It says, "My dear friends, do not be surprised at the painful test you are suffering, as though something unusual were happening to you." And it can be unusual. And again, you have things that come on suddenly and stay around, all right, persistently. You have other things that come on, happen for a day, and then, good Lord, happen for a day, and then just, continue to happen, or not slack it. They happen for a day. And then, let me turn on focus, because I'm sick of this shit. I already fixed it, and it's still bothering me. But anyway, you might have something come on, and then next day, goes away. I've had that happen. You're dizzy, and then you feel sick. You feel like you're getting the flu. Next day, gone. That doesn't make much sense when you're trying to use your own understanding about it. And that's why you should stay away from doing that. So, and again, that's a fault of mine. I lean into my own understanding sometimes. When it comes to like health shit, usually generally it's health shit. When it comes to spiritual things, I don't really do it. But when I lean into health stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's this? What this could be? It could be anything at the end of the day. But I always think it's the worst thing, right? Like you got fucking head exploditis, right? Like you go, oh shit, my head's gonna explode, right? Shit like that. But anyway, rather be glad that you are sharing Hamashiach's suffering. So we should be glad we're suffering. In a not the exact same way, but in a similar way that Yahushua suffered, because we're not. If he was deemed to suffer, we don't just get out of that either. All right. So it says, so that you may be full of joy when his glory is revealed. And again, it's going to make this victory that much sweeter, man. So let's go over now and let's get Romans 8 and 18, okay? And again, about how it's going to be 10, I'll say 7 is completion, 7 times sweeter, all right, when we, get pulled out of this thing, and this thing being, this hellish landscape called, America, Babylon, the Great, and this world in its current state, whether you be in England, Jamaica, all right, any of these other, whether it's a province of America, America itself, or, any of these other places. We'll be glad when we're pulled the hell out of this place. on a lifeline, like a net, all right, pulled out of here in the chariots through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because this place blows, man. Romans 8:18, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time, what we're going through right now, right, are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. So the things that we go through now, they're not anything compared to, how we're going to be, all right, in the future, in the kingdom, okay, the near future, mind you. So really, it's if someone told you all you got to do is, break a toe, all right, lose a tiny piece of your ear, all right, and then after that, you'll have a big house, three cars, excellent wife, excellent children, never have to work. All right, a lot of people say, oh shit, break my toe and nip my ear, right? But they're not willing to suffer, through this truth, all right, to get a better reward than a couple $1 million and some temporary stuff, right? So again, choose your suffer, and don't choose your sufferings, but how do I want to say it? Rejoice in the sufferings that you do have, right? Because again, it's essentially like a token of reward, if you really want to get down to it. Good News Bible says, I consider that we suffer at this current time or present time cannot be compared to all the glory that is going to be revealed to us. ERV, easy to read version. We have sufferings now, but these are nothing compared to the great glory that will be given to us. And then the easy to read, the English Standard Version, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy comparing to the glory that is revealed to us. And it quoted 2 Corinthians 4:17. It says, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. That's excellent. And then let's get 1 Peter 1:5-6. Again, these are in the ESV. It says, who by Yahweh's power are being guarded through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you rejoice, though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been grieved by various trials. Okay, so, these things are grievous. I mean, they suck, all right? I don't wake up in the day and I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad that I feel like shit. Woohoo! No. I don't, not at all, right? Not at all. There's nobody, out there that's jumping for joy because they have diabetes or cancer or a broken leg, right? But they know those things are indicative of rewards to come, right? Or at least they should, right? So, I mean, if you're going through constant hell, I mean, again, it's not definitive. We still say we're of, hopefully we're of the hopeful elect. But if you're suffering, you're going through different shit, health issues, going through this, hells, and living in a hell, living in a nightmare, people having issues with you constantly, that's a good sign, all right, that you could potentially be part of the elect, okay? So it's a better sign than not, okay? But again, we're not going to be proud about it. I mean, we hope we're of the elect. We hope and would like to be of the elect. We don't consider ourselves, we're part of the 2/3. No, we say more than likely, Lord willing, we're part of the elect because, we're in this, we're doing, what we're supposed to be doing to the best of our ability. We're followers Yahweh Shem Yahushai. We're teaching this gospel or listening, if you're a female. And, yeah, man, it's just one of those things where, we have a positive outlook on it. All right. What do they say? A positive mental attitude, PMA. So yeah, now, and this is just a little shorter lesson, all right? Just going to rattle these off through the spirit power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and Lord willing, there's edification to come through it. So this is, shows you, right? That's a good thing. Proverbs 3:11, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be wary of his correction, for whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father, the son in whom he delighteth. So, some of these things are also going to be for correction's sake, all right? Low faith, all right? Well, might put you in a situation where you have to utilize faith, like a health condition, right? Or something strange. Again, it doesn't say necessarily what it is. It says, though some strange thing happened unto you. What could it be? It can be a million different things that we're going through, all right? These are, the trials. We don't necessarily know what the trial is, all right? The Lord knows what trial he had set up for us before the foundation of the earth, but we don't necessarily know what it is, right? We have to learn it as we go, all right? We have to be that warrior, like in Dungeons and Dragons or in a video game, all right, that goes through the dungeon and, you don't know what's at the end of that dungeon. You assume it could be a dragon, but maybe it's not a dragon. What if it's something else? All right, what if you think the dragon's in the last room, but what if the dragon's in the first room? All right, and it gets, easier from there. All right, or what if the dragon's in the fourth room, and right before that dragon, or what if there's a dragon in every room, right? What if there's that? What if there's a dragon in every room, and on top of having a dragon in every room, they also have, poison dart traps, right? And you got to keep on, going over those hurdles, or what if there's not a dragon at all right, but a lion at the end, right? So it's, again, everyone's dungeon is going to be a little different, all right? Everyone's video game is going to be a little bit different when you go in the dungeon. Some people, right off the bat, they're going to be hit with the poison darts. Some people aren't going to have the poison dart. The first room could be clear. There's nothing in it. But the second room, there's poison darts. Or the first 3 rooms could have nothing at all, but then the next 10 rooms have poison darts. Meanwhile, somebody else, the first 3 rooms have a bunch of stuff, but the next 10 rooms don't have much at all. Again, it's like a wave, all right? You're going through stuff sometimes, and other times you're not going through stuff, that much. And then other times you are, other times you're not. And it's just one of those things where, hey, look, man, we gotta do it through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and Lord willing, we're given the strength through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Ooh, nose acting up. Feel like I want to sneeze. Bear with me. I guess not, but caught a lick of that dust, that fan dust. But we got to go through things that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to have us go through, and it's going to build us up at the end of the day, right? And certain things are going to be through corrections. If you have low faith, well, he might put something on you, put a situation on you where you're going to have faith, right? You might have low patience, and he's going to put you in a situation where you got to be patient. Right? Different things like that, man. And then this one's good. So this is the ESV. We're going to get in the King James Version first, though. It says, this is verse 16. It says, 2 Corinthians 4:16, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. So even if you're in a situation that's terminal, all right, something that's likely to cause death. Again, the Lord could pull you out of that, boom, right at the end. Or you could perish in that, and that doesn't mean that you're wicked. But by going through that, you are being strengthened as well. All right, you're going through something that most people have not gone through, and you're becoming very resilient through that. Well, what's it going to do if I'm dead? Well, those life learnings, all right, translate into the kingdom. Those things we keep with us, okay? We don't keep our Xbox, we don't keep our TV, we don't keep our book collection, all right, we don't keep our sneaker collection, or our Pokemon card collection, or whatever the hell we happen to have, but we do keep our faith, we do keep our spiritual lessons and spiritual wisdom gained, okay? So those things, even if you do perish, you still gain stuff, right? And when you die, you don't really have much to worry about anymore because you're dead, right? The worst part is the dying. The death is not the worst part. It's the dying, right? Everybody's worried about death. Really, it's the dying they're worried about. They're worried about how they're going to go, if it's going to be painful, if it's this and that. Not the death. The death that's done. You're gone, right? It's the anticipation and worry of the fear of the unknown and the what ifs, all right, that get everybody, all right? But again, it says, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. So eternal, that means something, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So, again, let's go and get that, actually, because I wanted to get that. Let's get that in the Good News Bible. It says, for this reason we never become discouraged, even though our physical being is gradually decaying, yet our spiritual being is renewed day by day. And essentially, if you really want to get down to it, you're feared, if I'm going through a health condition and the docs say I'm dying. Well, we're all dying. Every single one of us is dying. All right, day by day, this world and the sin in that is killing us. Right, so we need to get out of here. This staying in this society is a certain death. It says, for this reason we never became discouraged, even though our physical being is gradually decaying, yet our spiritual being is renewed day after day. And this small and temporary trouble we suffer will bring us a tremendous and eternal glory, much greater than the trouble. Even if you die, all right, what we're going to get is going to be so much. Even if you did die, it's a worthy payoff, It's a worthy payoff. Well, how good it can be, you can't even put a number on it, man. That's how good it's going to be. So, King James Version, Job 13-15. This is the man Job. All right, this is the boy right here. Right? I don't want to say the boy. He's a man. Right? But the slang that we use. Right? This is the man Job. All right. This is like the go-to man. All right, for dealing with people that had to suffer. All right. You don't think he was praying? He was praying all the time. Did the Lord, lift it up from him? Wasn't for a very long time. All right. Some people say it was, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 months. All right. Could be up to 3 years. Could be up to longer than that. All right. Could be up to longer than that. Could have been a series of years, man. Which the Lord eventually restored what he had, plus not just some, plus an abundance, right? So Job 13-15, this is wisdom from Job. Even if we do die, right? It says, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain mine own ways before him. He also shall be my salvation, for an hypocrite shall not come before him. So even if we do die, right, still got to trust in him, right? So even if we do die, guess what? He's still coming back, right? He's still going to dead this place. We're still going to have everything forever to enjoy it, right? So no points of what if I do, then I guess there's nothing. Look, it's all about Yahweh Shem Yahushai's will. All right, when Yahushua had to go on the cross, he was begging his Father that didn't happen. But if it had to happen, all right, that his will be done. If it was the Lord's will, that it be done. All right, and it was the Lord's will, and it had to be done. It's the same thing with us. We don't want to die. We don't perish. But if it's the Lord's will, it has to be done. And we don't, even if we don't like it, it's not something we can choose, right? And really, we gotta allow the Lord's will to go out, because the will of the Father encompasses everything that we're hoping for. So if us perishing in that is part of the Father's will, that it's got to happen, because everything of the Father has to come to light. All right, it's got to be brought forth. All right, all his promises that he made, he's going to do. And in there's going to be, again, some uncomfortable truths, uncomfortable realities, and things you got to go through. Again, this truth, again, quoting the apostles, a lot of people don't understand what they're involved in. There's a lot of sufferings, a lot of miseries, a lot of depression, a lot of torment, a lot of woes, a lot of sadness in this ministry. If you look at a lot of the brothers in the brothers' eyes, you'll see life, but sadness, glory, but tribulation, right? And and anger as well, a mix of hope, anger, sadness, hope, fortune, and trust in power. All right, it's a mix that you can't you only see it in the eyes of the men of the Lord. Okay, it's a very specific look. Okay, you've seen there's been hardships, there's been good times, bad times, sufferings. All right, anger, things that have caused anger. Right, things that they're hopeful for. There's a lot of different. This ain't just a two-part mix, okay? There's a lot of ingredients in this ministry, okay? And one of those ingredients that would be considered a bitter ingredient, or some that a lot of people would like to leave out, but it's got to go in to bake the cake, is the tribulation, man. Tribulation. A lot of people want to leave that out, but it's a necessary. I won't say a necessary evil, but evil has befallen upon us, but it's a necessary circumstance that we got to go through, right? And we don't like it. I don't like having puffy, different type of lumps in my neck. I don't like having headaches sometimes. I don't like my gut acting up, right? I don't like feeling sick sometimes or getting dizzy. I don't like that. All right, brothers out there that have diabetes, they don't like their blood sugar dropping low. But guess what? It's not about what we like. It's about what we have to do through Yahweh Shem Yahushai to share in those sufferings. All right, Yahweh Shai had to suffer. We're not better than Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're not better than Yahweh Shai. Okay, Yahweh Shai died as a relatively young man. We're not better than Yahweh Shai. Okay. Think about that. If we die, we're not better than Yahushua. Yahushua died. Was he wicked? No, he wasn't wicked. But Yahushua died. Was he wicked? No, but he died. But was he wicked? No, but he died, though. Does that make him wicked because he died? No. All right? There's times people were sick. Were they wicked because they were sick? No. All right? There's people out there that are wicked that aren't sick. There's people out there that are sick that are wicked. There's people that are wicked that are sick. There's people that are not wicked that are sick. There's people that are... good that are sick, and there's people that are good that are not sick. It's, again, everybody's trial is going to be different, man. And just because something bad happened to you. Just because it's bad don't mean it's judgment. You'd know if it was judgment. Trust me. You'd know. You'd put two to two together. The Lord would let you know. The Lord will let you know. I've been through the judgment of the Lord before, all right? And most of us have by not doing what we're supposed to be doing. I've been through before. I don't want to go through that, all right? It was horrible, okay? Meanwhile, I can get up. I can move. I can walk. I can talk. I can make these lessons. What I was going through before when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, I could barely walk. I could barely talk. I mean, I could talk. I was miserable, man. I felt like a dying cat, all right? I felt like a cat that had just been hit and laid out in the road. I could make it down the stairs barely, man. I was frail. My legs would wobble, right? You know, found issues with my heart and shit. And, you know, all of a sudden, all those issues started going away once I started teaching and preaching in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So, yeah, no, that, I don't want, nope, no thank you. Please, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, never, ever that again. Please, Babu Shah, right? All of us have a testimony like that we don't want to go back to because we weren't doing the right thing. Lord put the fear in us and got us doing what we were doing. But in this truth, you're going to go through things, but you can tell if they're judgment or not. This that we're going through, these things aren't necessary judgment. They're trials, they're sicknesses. We don't like them, but we go through them, we suffer them. If this is what we got to go through to be members of the elect and be joint heirs with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, then, you know, so be it. That's what we got to do. And we're not going to love it, jump for joy, but at the end of the day, we will endure it through Yahweh Shem Yahushai's sake and count it as a blessing, all right, because that means, you know, Lord willing, that we're being dealt with. So Job 2 and 10. This is, we'll go from 9. All right, this shows you the mindset of a two-third individual, an individual that's not spiritual. Job's wife. It says, then said his wife unto, this is Job 2 and 9, then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? So are you still going to retain your integrity? You just think everything's fine, right? And she said, what? Curse Yahweh and die. She said, just curse him and die. Right, just curse him. Curse him. He caused you all this different hells and stuff. Curse him. Just curse him out and just die. Right? What's the point in living like this, right? And what did he say? Verse 10, but he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. Basically saying you're speaking like a fucking moron. If you really want he didn't necessarily say fucking moron because, again, those terms weren't around back then. But that's essentially what was said. It was probably done harsh, not, oh, you know, you speak like a fool. It was probably not, you're a moron, all right? That's really stupid of you to say. He probably scolded that woman quite severely, right? But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of Yahweh, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Yahweh sin with his lips. All right, did not Job sin with his lips, excuse me. And all this did not Job sin with his lips. Yahweh didn't sin either, but, you know, this was dealing with Job, Slakia. So, yeah, Job didn't sin with his lips about that situation. You know, he was, he held his integrity. He kept his integrity. And, I mean, he still got scolded by the Lord at the end of the day for kind of being a little bit over-righteous, right? The Lord was basically like, look, were you here when I made any of these things? No, right? You weren't here, all right? So, basically, you know, simmer down, right? Basically was told to simmer down, right? So, simmer it down, right? And, yeah, man, so the Lord's going to heal us. All right, we're going to have some things we go through that we're going to be healed from. Other things we might not be healed from immediately. Some things we might not be healed from at all until, you know, Yahweh Shem Yahushai comes back. There's other things that are going to be different sufferings that we go through. And at the end of the day, look, whatever happens, happens. All right, it is what it is. All right, and you just got to chill. All right, don't panic. I mean, what can you do about it? Right, that's a list I've made from my wife before. It's like one of those like little like lists where it's like, is there a problem? Yes. Okay, it'll be like yes or no, and you choose which one, right? So, is there a problem? No. Then don't worry about it because there's no problem. Why worry about a problem if there's not a problem? Don't make a problem, right? Or if it's like, is there a problem? Yes. Can you fix it? If no, then don't worry about it. If there's a problem, can you fix it? Yes, then fix it then, right? If you have an issue because your diet, then fix your diet, right? If you keep on having toe pain because you keep on stubbing your toe, pay more attention, right? Do that, right? But if you can't fix it, don't worry about it. Give it to Yahweh Shem Yahushai and let him do what he has, you know, what his will is with it, okay? Because you can't do anything about it. You just said you couldn't. So if you can't do anything about it, why try? Why panic? Why freak out? Give it to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Pray he delivers you from it one way or another. And send it out and let that ship sail. Okay? So don't give up hope. Keep believing. Keep having faith. Keep on, trying your best and, just believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushai in this faith. And regardless whether we live or die in this truth, all right, in a righteous way, we're going to be in the kingdom and we're going to be A-okay. So that's all we got to know. All right, we're going to be A-okay someday, all right, regardless of what tribulations and trials we got to go through now. So that's where I'm going to close out. All right, Lord, what was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.